What's up, everybody? It's Joe back from the Acceptable Casualties. I just want to take you guys on a little journey with me that I had recently. It's going to call this one the China Tree Experiment. For those of you guys who don't know, if you guys go onto eBay or even some other online vendors, you can get these model trees that you get shipped over from China, and I mean they are dirt cheap. I got 10 of these and 20 of these little guys. For about 10 bucks. I think it was $9.99 free shipping on eBay, and I think it took maybe, I don't know, like a month for them to get here. So you gotta be a little patient with it. But just to put that in perspective, if you guys were to buy Woodland Scenics trees with that count or that quantity, you probably would end up paying closer to like $50, somewhere in that wheelhouse, 40 to 50 bucks. So they're by no means the quality of Woodland Scenics. If you guys have used them before, Woodland Scenics makes some really nice clump foliage trees. I have some of those for my pines that I use on the table, and they're great. They're awesome. But for what you pay for these trees, it's kind of hard not to use these China trees once you get the hang of doing it. So kind of for this video, what I wanted to do is just show you guys the little mission that I was on. So my plan was, when I went out and got these, I wanted to be able to make enough of trees to fill my table with forests, and then just some little scenic pieces on the table for terrain and stuff like that kind of filled the table up. And I wanted to do it as cheap as possible. So I went out and I've read up on some of these people that have used the China trees before. So I figured I'd give it a shot and take it from there. So what I ended up doing is I spent 10 bucks. I got 20 of these little guys. I got 10 of these guys. I went into my garage and I had a box full of these washers. Probably, I don't know, maybe 30 of them I think I had left over from a prior project that I had. Nothing to do with wargaming, just, real life nonsense. So I had a bunch of these and I ended up priming them black. I ended up going to the like Hobby Town or Hobby Lobby we have over here, just like a craft store. I bought a block of like modeling clay. And this is the oil base, not the water base, so it doesn't dry out really unless you leave it out like in direct sun. So I bought a block of this to help build the bases, and then over here I had some flock that I picked up, Woodland Scenics flock, like the big tub of it for like 10 or 15 bucks, depends on where you get it from. You can get like the static grass. So this is what I had to put this project together right here. So all together, this was $3 for the clay. Like I said, the trees were 10. These were free. If you go to the hardware store, maybe $5 for like a box of 50 or 100, somewhere in there. And then if you end up getting the flock for the bases, you're probably looking to buy, if you get in the big tub, which would last you, you'd be able to base like 10 armies and do like a couple tables with the amount of static grass that they give you in those things. That's like 15, but they have them in packs of like, $5 each for some of the smaller ones, which would be way more than enough to do this and probably do some static grass for an army or two. So all together, like I said, if you went out and you purchased this, you probably do all of this for 20 bucks, and it'll end up giving you $50 to $60 worth of trees on the table, and you'll still have supplies left over to do some other things. So this is what it costs to put this project together. And like I said, I want to do it cheap, so I went the cheapest route possible to put it all together. A little thing too I want to note too before I show you guys what's going on. So when you get your China trees, this is what's left over in the bag that falls off the trees. Don't be alarmed by it when you get it, because the trees still do stay pretty full. But I mean, it is like super messy. Like, this is the full bag I have of the those other little trees, and I haven't even really messed with it. And the bottom of the bag has like just a ton of this stuff. So if you do end up getting maybe like a tree or two with some bare branches, there's more than enough clump foliage at the bottom of those to fit on there. And it's not the that soft clump foliage that you said you get from Woodland Scenics. It's more like a ground up like plastic. You have to kind of see it to understand really what it is, but it doesn't stick as well to the branches. You almost need like a hot glue gun, I think, if you're going to do some patchwork to really make it be as efficient as possible. All right, so enough of me rambling here about all this other stuff. We'll just kind of get into it. So what I ended up doing is I take one of these washers down here. If you have flat ones without the hole in the middle, definitely make use of it. I just had these, so this is just what I ended up doing. And what I would do, I'd rip off a piece of the clay, and I end up putting it over here to make the base. Between the weight of this and the clay, it's enough to have a nice sturdy base where your tree's not going to tip over even if you hit it. You really have to knock the thing over for it to happen. So this is kind of what the base looks like after I'm done doing it with the clay. I build a little up on the middle, and because I have a hole in the bottom, I have to push a little bit in there to kind of give it a little bit of a hill so I can get the trunk of the tree into the base right there. Like I said, if you had a flat washer, it would be a little bit better. It would sit a little bit higher, but you would still get the same exact effect with it. Another thing I want to note too, if you're going to use the clay, the reason I'm using clay and not like a spackling or anything like that is because I use all this stuff in my basement. Is where I have my table set up for my games, and in my basement year round without air conditioning or anything like that, it's like roughly 65 degrees, maybe hits 70 degrees in the summer. So these oil-based clays that I picked up in the hobby shop, once you end up stop using them, and well, you stop messing around with it and just let it sit, it hardens. Not to the point where it won't harden. Like if you mess with it again, it'll become malleable again, but it hardens, and it'll just hold its form, and the tree really binds to it at the trunk and the base. So it's great for that. If you don't have like air conditioning in the room that you play in, or maybe you take this stuff and you put it in your car and travel somewhere, the heat will soften this clay a little bit. So if you end up having that kind of situation when how you're gaming, whether you travel with your stuff or if your house, maybe the place that you're playing is a little bit hotter than that, you might want to go with a stucco or some kind of spackling or something like that and use that for the base. But for me, since I have a steady table downstairs and it's really cool down there, I can get away with using the clay, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference, and it's actually super easy to do it this way because you don't have to wait for dry times or painting over it. You just get brown clay and you're good to go. All right, so yes, put the clay, and I ended up putting it on the washer right here. And like I said, I had to put it in the middle just to keep the middle sturdy, so I can punch the trunk through there. So what I ended up doing after that is really simple. I just take the trunk of the tree, press it in there, and then I would go down here and I'd just tighten it up around there, around the base. Maybe I'll pull another small piece off and kind of, make the old worm. If you guys mess with Play-Doh or you have kids and you're doing it now as we speak, just make the little worm, wrap it around the base, and kind of create like a second layer around the base of the tree. And when you're doing it with the modeling clay at first, like I said, because you're messing with it and the heat from your hands and everything else that's going on, it's going to feel like it's bending all over the place. Don't worry about it, because once you put this in a cool place and let it sit just for a little bit, it's going to harden up and it's going to solidify a little bit, not completely, but your trees, they won't flop around that much. I promise you guys it's not going to happen. So let me peel it off there. So this is how it ends up looking right now after you put it on the base of the tree. So you're going to get, I don't know if you guys can see it, but like the little leaves up here, they're going to fall off. I have something for that too at the end. So what I end up doing is, I said I put these together, I'll line them up, I'll do a whole bunch of them at the same time. Then after that, I'll put some glue around the base down here, and I'll end up sprinkling it inside my flock. And then this is what you'll get after that. I'll put some glue on the base, and this is just a simple tree thing done on the cheap. So I'll get the static grass on there, and that's the look that you're going to end up getting. You could end up putting some other clump foliage if you have some loose ones on here, and kind of sprucing up the base a little bit if you want. But like I said, if you're just going for like the simple, getting something on the table to kind of break the terrain up, the static grass works really well. Now another thing too is you're going to be looking at this tree, and you could go through and paint the bases up if you want to, or do something with this. Now the leaves for the trees in the light, they do pop a little bit and they do get that plastic look. What I ended up doing with this, and it also helps the branches a little bit if you don't want to take the time to paint the branches and maybe knock some of the gloss off, that plastic gloss off of those as well. I have a shaved head, so I didn't have it. My wife did. It was some old, just cheap $2-3 can of hairspray sitting around, and I ended up stealing it. And what I ended up doing with that was I sprayed down all the trees that I had. It knocks the gloss down on the trees, the leaves, the base, the branches. It knocks everything down so it's not as glossy when the light hits it, and also it helps bind the plastic foliage that's on the branches so they don't fall off as much. You could probably do the same thing with that spray can matte varnish if you wanted to. But I don't know if you want to burn a $10 can of matte varnish that you would be better off using on your models. You might be better off, honestly, just going to the store and like I said, just picking up a cheap thing of hairspray, or if there's a cheap can of like Dull Coat that you can pick up at the hardware store, and do that with this, and it works really, really well. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it in the light here. It's kind of hard to tell. But this is the one that's finished completely. This one isn't. I don't know if you can really tell on camera that much, but like I said, the pieces don't really fall off this anymore, and like the unfinished one, they will fall off. So you want to put some kind of binder on there if you can. So that's kind of just what I'm looking at with the trees right now. Like I said, super easy to do. It's worth giving it a try, especially if you guys have like a table at home. It's something worth looking at just to put together, because even if you're just doing it for, you know, for forest, or you just want some kind of filler, just like how we do here. Like, we just use trees a lot just for filler during the empty spots on the table, just to kind of bring the table together a little bit for terrain. You can do it with the China trees that you get off of eBay for, you know, like I said, for like roughly 20 bucks the first time you do it, and then every set of trees that you would buy after that, it would become cheaper and cheaper. Like I said, this is from doing, I think, 15 trees off this $3 or $4 block of clay, and I have enough to do like another, you know, who knows, like 50 of them. I have no idea, but like there's still a load of clay left on that. So the more that you do, the better, especially if you have armies that might be on Eastern Front, Western Front, or just have like, you know, a different look altogether, when you want like pines or some kind of conifer, or, you know, just maple trees, or maybe you play like some Asian, you want to get some like cherry blossoms or something like that. The first purchase is going to be the most expensive, and it'll be 20 bucks, but after that you're literally just going to be buying trees for the most part, and that's going to cost you 5 or 10 bucks a pop, and then you're going to have all the other materials to put it together, and it really is super easy. You can punch out probably you know, 20 of these in maybe an hour, hour and a half, once you kind of get your system down, and you just let them sit overnight. That clay is going to harden, and then you'll be good to go. Or I said, if you go the stucco route, you might have to wait an extra day and then paint the base and do it that way, which will take a little bit longer, but I was going for the quick and easy on this one. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys what I was thinking here for the China tree experiment. It's worked really good for me, but like I said, one thing to keep in mind, and I need to reiterate this for you guys that are going to be doing this: if you have it, if you have your gaming area in a cool place, use the clay. If it's going to be, you're going to be transporting it in the heat in the summer, like the spring, or on those hot days, or if you play in a room that's going to be pushing like, you know, 80 degrees or higher, you might want to steer clear of this, because it won't be as sturdy, for one, and two, since it's oil based. If it starts to, it's not going to melt, but you know what I mean? If it starts to kind of lose its consistency a little bit, it could possibly bleed into like a cloth mat if you have that. If you have like one of the fat mats or anything, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. And like I said, it might not even happen. I just want to, you know, give you guys like a warning here, so you guys don't go out and buy a bunch of China trees and then you're cussing me out because the clay is melting everywhere. So you know, like or subscribe, leave some comments on this if you guys got any other techniques that you guys might use, and like I said, I'll catch you guys later, maybe a couple more of these modeling videos if I come up with something good. So I'll see you guys later.